Hey guys, Chaps here, and welcome back to Shifting Gears. Today we'll be discussing various aspects of the Gears 4 campaign. This is just part 1 of 4 for the campaign discussion, so check out the description for links to the other videos as they become available. I'll also have the full 2-ish hour video available later this week. As always, I have the guest profiles and a write-up of my personal views linked below. Thanks in advance for watching, and let's kick things off. So let's hop in and introduce our guests for the week. We are all Team Tac-Com members. This is kind of a first that we've all been on camera together.
Wow!
Oh, wow.
Hey, Schwartz, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Swartz. I play Gears from time to time.
Do you?
I've been playing... Well, I mean, not for a while. I've been playing with chaps from day one, man. Used to play Gears 1 on your Xbox.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a long-time hobby.
Yep. All right,
I'm
Dodger.
on the forums, I lurk, but yeah.
Yeah, no one cares about the forums anymore, Schwartz.
I know, right?
Good times.
Dodger, you've been on the show a few times, and people like your Minecraft stuff.
A few times, I guess. That's the one way to say it. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Gears since, I guess, day 2. I don't know, December of 2006. I mean, you see me introduce myself.
Yeah. There's not too much of a need for intros on this episode. It's kind of weird.
I mean, now I kind of go between Gears of War and Fortnite right now.
Yeah. And then we've got this this ghost over here.
It's the first time you've had a ghost on here, right?
Yeah.
Really good.
I'm Jess. I do behind-the-scenes Tac-Com stuff and the Gears recap every week, but not so much anymore. But maybe someday. I've been playing Gears since it came out. My roommate at the time made me play it, so I got into it because there was a chainsaw I could kill people with. I'm not good, but sometimes I am. And these guys put up with me. I think they just like to make fun of me.
Yes, that's why you play with us. And you have some of the rarest Gears stuff. You have like that white Ultimate Edition.
Deal.
You have the white Ultimate Edition console. You've got a skin named after you in the game. You're lucky. All right.
Shenanigans.
And I'm Chaps. Yeah, no one cares. One of the things just to throw out right at the beginning of this video is the spoilers. Dodger and I think Schwartz may have been there too. We did a video a long ways back about how they advertised the game and how spoilers kind of ruined stuff for us and lazy marketing, stuff like that. We'll have that video linked below, but we're not really going to talk about that here. So, because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start off talking about characters and enemies. I guess we'll start with characters, character development, who was included in the game, that type of stuff. So, Schwartz, I know you're opinionated on some of the characters and your thoughts on them. You want to start us off?
Which characters am I opinionated on?
The main 3.
Yeah, let's start with the main 3.
Well, I mean...
Let's say their character development and their personalities.
True. Yeah. They're all kind of the same character. I wish that it seems like they do alternate between, who's the funny one and who's the serious one, and they kind of blend together. I really wish they'd kind of picked a defining characteristic for each character.
They had that 0 punctuation video, I think it was, said like
yes.
They had a wheel that they spun at the beginning of every cutscene to see which character would have what personality.
And it's painfully true.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I think Dell always had like that same spin though. Like he always hit the same thing. But
not always.
He was always kind of like I don't know.
He had that one serious moment that seemed out of character when he was like, we don't know what's down there.
Yeah, right before they go down the elevator.
To me, that seemed out of his character based on everything else I saw. But
Yeah.
But even if they picked one of the character traits that they had and stuck with it, I still feel like the development would have been a little weak in this outing.
Yeah, like they went with this whole 2-person co-op thing. We'll talk about that a bit later instead of 4-person, so that they could develop the characters further and have more meaningful interactions with the characters. But I really don't. I don't feel like we got that out of them at all on this.
Yeah, it was really weird. Like, even that whole like 2-player thing. I guess we're gonna talk about it later. I have some real opinions on that.
Yeah.
But it does. It feels like you have JD and then 2 ciphers that are tagging along with him that you don't really care about because they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
To an extent.
I feel more bad about the Jin box being destroyed.
Yeah. So I guess we can.
What happens to the characters?
So what are your thoughts of Jin as a character?
Just like, well, I mean, I don't want to put any political, but it's like any type of politician that just doesn't listen. Just like, no, you're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah.
Just kind of a wet blanket, just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
I mean, her big speech at the beginning of the game is a history lesson. I feel like that sums up her character.
Yeah, Schwartz, you always go off about that. It was like, why is she giving a speech that is like a history narrative? Yeah, I personally don't feel like I connected with any characters, and I mean, I know it's just the first game in the series, and Gears 1, a few of the characters had personalities, but they didn't really
I connected
get to
with
show
Hoffman,
off.
I think, the most out of this game. And that's just because of the prologue.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. They wanted to do this character development stuff. All the characters really seem kind of cut and paste to me. I don't really see much of a difference in them. But I mean, there's a lot of areas to improve on that front. Gears 1 didn't have the best character development. I think they had some good backstory.
But they were memorable. They were memorable, and you finished that game really liking one of them, or 2 of them, or all of them.
Then they had their own
I don't
personality.
feel that way. Yeah. I loved Baird after the first game, and I don't feel anything for these new characters. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Cole really stood out in the first game.
Oh yeah.
To me, he has a crazy personality. I think that's kind of what happened with this game. Is I feel like the personalities in this game are almost more neutral and realistic, while Gears 1 had a lot more exaggerated personalities, and a lot of them were, or the original trilogy was a lot more exaggerated personalities, and it's like
more realistic though.
I don't think that some of the original trilogy ones were realistic. I feel like they were exaggerated a bit much, which made them stand out and be a bit more memorable.
Maybe that's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, it might not be.
It does risk, I think, falling into just like stereotypes, though.
Yeah.
It feels a little awkward sometimes. I mean, I love Cole, but at points it's just like, wow. This is getting a little weird. Yeah, and so I feel like, I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, and I think that they should maybe look towards like the original trilogy in terms of building their characters, developing their characters further. I think there's a happy medium between the two.
Yeah.
Where like I connect with the characters and I like them and I like see their reactions to their situations as something that's more believable than some of the characters from the original trilogy, but also they like stick in my mind and don't just kind of like get lost in the background.
I think one of our conversations that we had with I guess Parasidian, for those of you who don't call him Sid, really showed this off to me a lot. Was there was somebody on the forums going off about, oh, I don't like how Kate's doing this now. That's not her personality. She would do this and that. And Sid's kind of like, I don't know why this person's posting this, because everything in the game has shown that Kate's this other way and she does this other stuff. So it's the fact that, like, the Coalition apparently intended to design Kate one way, but some of the fans see her another way.
Wasn't that the same guy who's like, Kate should have less cussing? Why is she cussing every single time?
Yeah. So, it's like, it's nothing against that guy, but the fact that the Coalition designed with one intent and this fan or group of fans viewed her a different way kind of really shows off to me that maybe the Coalition didn't do the best job showing off those personalities and defining those.
I think that like the most memorable like part of the game for me is Marcus going off about his tomatoes, and that's not even a line in the game. That's like an extra that you unlock.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So characters pretty cookie cutter. Nothing special about them. We'd like to see more development. What about the enemies? We've obviously have the base drone types. Those are really just carrying over from previous games. They serve the same roles. Nothing really memorable about them. The snipers look cool in this game, I think, but they're really just like Locust 2.0, right? For the basic drone type.
Now they're just fully naked now. Does the
no underwear confirmed?
Oh yeah, no underwear.
I do think that. I like the way they look. Like for sure, they look interesting. But I do think that they are Locust 2.0, and you can find analogs for every swarm enemy in the Locust. Like, and I know that was.
You think that's a bad thing?
I don't think it's. It's not a bad thing. There's definitely it works to an extent, but it is. I would like to see more interesting and varied stuff. I realize that this is the first game, and so I'm kind of giving them a pass in terms of having everything kind of line up one
I
for one.
I like the pouncers. I thought the pouncers.
Yeah. I was gonna say like the base, like the humanoid ones. I can definitely see that. Juvies, wretches, drones, grenadier, snipers. But when it comes to the monsters, there's no Brumax, there's no Corpsers. They have their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
just to your point, the pouncers were. It seemed like those were one of the first new enemy types they developed. They showed that off way before the game came out. But that was also is a really cool enemy.
I like the way that it those. That's what I'd like to see more of, enemies that make you change up the way you play. Whereas I feel like the carriers and the snatchers, they're just kind of bullet sponges.
Yeah.
And they make you move around, but they don't change up the way you address them. You just kind of keep unloading on them.
Yeah.
And wait for their, soft target to open and then lay into them.
Yep. Yeah. Shoot the glowy part. Okay.
Yeah. It does kind of boil down to that.
What are your thoughts on Juvies versus Wretches? Do you prefer one over the other?
They seem interchangeable to me.
They're both a pain in the ass.
They are, yes.
I would say Juvies would be more pain of an ass, though.
Yeah.
I like that they come out in more numbers. Well, it just feels like it. That's scary. Not scary, but
the Wretch scream, and it'd be nice if it had that stun ability that it has in Judgment type stuff. But really, the Juvies, the way they come out in a pack or a swarm, I guess, and take you over, and their ability to come out of the pods or scream and release new pods, I thought that was a cool dynamic. And as much as I like the old game, I think the Juvies are a better version of the Wretches.
They do overwhelm me more. And that is something that the new hardware allows them to do.
Right.
I like that they take bigger leaps at you when you think they're farther away. You think you're getting away, but you're not.
Yeah.
They eat their shotgun pellets like their breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's because they simulate wall bouncing and stuff like that. And
Can we talk about the pods?
The what?
The pods.
Yeah.
How I feel like they expected them to be a lot more have a lot more impact on the way you play than they actually do.
Oh yeah, definitely. They made that a big highlight of something when they were showing off the game, and they really don't come into play that much.
Shoot them down and put yourself some more cover, or you can shoot away the cover and watch out which ones you shoot.
Every now and then, especially if you're playing on Insane, you're just all right, don't even fuck with the pods, or even mess with the pods, because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But then if you're not playing on anything, then it doesn't make a difference really. Whether you have extra cover or not.
Schwartz, our first playthrough, I forget if we did hardcore or normal on our first playthrough, but we intentionally was okay, we are going to destroy every single pod just for fun, and Del kept yelling at us.
That should have been an achievement, man. I'm telling you. Or an unlock or something.
Yeah, it should have.
Destroy 1,000 pods in one playthrough.
Destroy all the destroyable pods in the campaign on one playthrough. It should have been an achievement.
So you mentioned the mini bosses, or are they mini bosses or bosses earlier? So we have the Snatcher, Carrier, Kestrel, Swarmak. Is that it? Sir?
I think really the only one that constitutes as a boss would be the Swarmak. And then
Yeah.
the final boss.
Well, so then there's the mini bosses of the Snatchers,
Yeah.
Carriers,
Those would be
Kestrels.
mini bosses, but yeah.
So we talked about this before in like the Horde type video that we did. They were really bullet spongy. Some of them had some cool abilities, like the Snatcher eating you, or the Carrier shooting out his whatever they're called. I can't remember.
Cankers.
Cankers. Yeah, I'm shooting the cankers at you. Like, those were cool abilities, but did you really find those bosses that entertaining, or did they really just come down to bullet sponges?
I like the Snatcher. I thought it was unique. I like that it could. I like that it could slow down, speed up, whatever. The Carrier. The Carrier just seems slow, and I kept thinking back to the Berserkers and how much of a, I don't know, hit in the butt those were, but they were still like scary enough that you stayed away.
I mean, that as long as you don't have the ghost Boltok, that one part where I think it's like the second Carrier in, and it's just that one room with a whole bunch of pods.
Yeah.
It's very claustrophobic, and it's like on the hard difficulties that's going to be like super hard.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the rooms that gave us some difficult times when we weren't using that pistol to go through there.
But I feel like I would rather see like difficulty come from like making you rethink the way you approach something instead of just like, all right, I have to hunker down here and throw as much lead at this thing as I possibly can before it murders me.
Yeah, it's less like pump bullets into it and dodge attacks, and more of like do this mechanic or attack it this certain way to go through.
But then that's only a one-time difficulty though, because once you do it, then it's like, oh, that's all I have to do.
Once you figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
so
it might take a little work to make it have replay value, but
yeah.
I hate like a boss arenas where it's just a room with a boss in it, and
or like
kill
that,
it and then progress.
Or have that anti-room where it's just like, oh, there's a whole bunch of ammo here, and there's a boom shot. Oh, I guess the next room is a boss room.
Yeah. Must be a boss.
Yeah. The Kestrel as a boss, I don't think I want to see Kestrels anymore. They were really boring. They weren't even difficult. They were just boring. No. And I really hated the fact that it's like, oh, this military has $1 billion robot helicopter that's coming in to attack you. You take out one of its engines, but it decides to stay here and keep attacking you instead of going back for repair or something. They're like, we're just going to waste all of our money on this little thing.
Mm-hmm. That's nothing about the story, but I mean,
yes,
we'll get into that.
Well,
plausibility.
We'll get into that later.
So I guess it kind of goes into the next couple topics. So before getting into the story and the plausibility of things, the last enemy type is the DBs. We'll discuss plausibility of that later, but what were your thoughts of the different types of DBs as enemies?
Well, shockers are just tickers.
Shocker balls.
Shocker balls, yeah.
I mean, they're just tickers, basically. Yeah. Roly-poly ticker balls.
And actually, they had that as kind of a concept they showed it off as a concept for Gears 3, I think, where there were armored tickers that would
that would roll up in a ball.
Yeah, and you could like shoot them back like the trackers. So it was kind of cool seeing that come through. But yeah, they really are like the tickers.
I mean, it seemed like slow-moving swarm.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I feel like the blowing up guys from Gears 3. I can't remember the name.
The tickers?
No, the guys like the new enemies from Gears 3.
Lambent.
Holy crap! Yeah, because they explode when they're done, so it just feels like a stand-in for Lambent. And I mean, I have no problem with the gameplay wow, focus. There we go. Yeah, they don't seem. I mean, as far as gameplay goes, I don't really have a problem with them. They are kind of samey.
Yeah.
And they have the same thing. It's just like, oh, here's the regular drone. There's the sniper. There's the heavy boomer type. It's just like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Woo.
So
the robots.
So I don't like the DBs as an enemy type. I do like the role that the trackers played. I liked the I didn't really like the DR1s as enemies, but I did like how they did sort of have that different mechanic where we say they're lit is when you when we're playing, if you shoot them enough and they start glowing and they're about to blow up, we're like, oh, I've got them lit, I've got them lit. And then you have to decide, all right, do I either try and dodge his explosion, trigger his explosion, get away, or do I shoot him enough to make him go away? That was kind of a mechanic we hadn't really seen too much before, or at least it was in full force in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like the Lambent Dredges.
Yeah, the dredges would do a similar thing.
Yeah. And then the Guardian Sentinels.
Guardians and Sentinels.
Those guys are really annoying.
Annoying.
But I mean,
but
that
they
was
had
like
difficulty.
Weren't they like the first enemies in Gears to actually have a regenerating shield of some sort? In the past, it's always been like you shoot them and you keep doing until enough damage is eventually done, they die.
I mean, technically, ROM.
It would be. Yeah, that's true.
He had a
It
shield.
would be
that
interesting,
come back.
I think, if they made you like juggle ammo type. Like if you could use like the shock enforcers to like really get through their shields, and then somebody else could hit them with like a regular ammo to destroy them. I think that would be cool if they used that to mix up the gameplay. But as is, I mean, yeah, they added a layer of difficulty, and I can't really. I mean, I don't want them to go away, but they are one of the more annoying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think at the time, because the first time you see it is when you're at these the Outsiders camp, and at that time all shock weapons are gone.
Yeah,
so wouldn't be that, but that would be actually kind of cool.
What do you think of a like a swarm alternative to a Guardian would be? If for some reason Guardians and Sentinels were not
Mutated
to return.
Pouncer.
A flying pouncer, a pterodactyl.
I was gonna say, if anyone has seen or plays StarCraft,
yeah, I was thinking
the
about
Zerg Viper.
Yep.
Where it could reach out, grab you, and bring it over to you. So like, oh yeah, now you're surrounded by a whole bunch of swarm and stuff like that.
That would be cool.
I like that.
So like, if you look up the concept of like the Zerg Viper flying unit,
Okay.
I think that would be a pretty awesome swarm type.
Let's see. Are there any other enemy
That was just off
types?
the top of my head.
Yeah. Are there any other
that's
enemy
pretty cool.
types that were missed? I guess there's scions. They have.
Yeah, the Scions.
They're really like the
just-
boomers,
They're just boomers.
but they
boomers.
do have. It's kind of boomer mixed with Cantus. I don't like the scion scream as much as the Cantus healing and bringing in ticker type thing. But
It doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like it affects gameplay the same way that the Cantus did. I mean, it can like
No.
bring him up, or like
I just don't care
Bring
as
them back
much
to
if
their
that
feet.
happens.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I remember the Cantus reviving people being a big deal, and now I barely notice it when they do theirs.
I mean, I just take them out just because they have a drop shot or a buzzkill, and that's
Yeah,
right, it's
really annoying.
Yeah, that's the more like pressing issue is that they usually have some big heavy weapon that can mess you up.
the Cantus you took out because either one, you were tired of his freaking ink grenades, or you didn't want him to continuously revive all the enemies that you're trying to kill, so that's why he was the target. This time, it's like, it's the big guy, he's got the heavy gun, I'll take him out. It wasn't really the mechanic that drove you to want to take him out.
Yeah.
Were there any other enemy types from previous games that you think weren't represented here that you would have liked to see back?
There's nothing like there's nothing really analogous to like head snakes or anything like that.
I would have liked to see something like Shriekers.
Yeah, the Shriekers and Centipedes were the two big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the Shriekers because you had your ground forces you were trying to take out, and then you had those little things messing with you, and it just added a layer.
Let's see. So if that
there wasn't really like a Theron type of class, really. I mean,
there were
there's
the hunters, the swarm hunters, I guess. But that's the thing is like
that's more of like the elites, like the drone elites or the grenadier elites and stuff like that. Even though they're their own thing, but
yeah, it's like the swarm seem to have like scions and drone types, while Like the Locust had drone types, and
Cantus,
Cantus, and
Therons,
Theron.
Boomers.
Yeah, like
Monsters.
there was more variety, I guess.
But there were 3 games of development in Locust characters.
Yeah,
But
but
weren't-
still,
was
I
a
feel like
campus.
even though they were beginning this new trilogy on their own, I feel like we're so used to seeing so many enemies, they could have done a little more.
I think the variation in
What?
look, the variation
Gears
in
of War
look.
5. Now
of
the
the-
swarm
yeah.
are riding pouncers.
Yes,
That'd be dope.
dude, that'd be
I'd play
amazing.
that.
It'd
Nice.
be like
The Bloodhounds. The Bloodhounds.
yeah. Oh, but what if they're like more like advanced pouncers? What
No,
if they get more-
the blood moons.
Well, what was it? Because whenever they had like the crap, what were they called? The blood mounts? Yeah, blood mounts. I always had this idea of a concept of like an alpha blood mount. There should be an alpha pouncer where it's just like maybe like 1.5 times bigger. It's more
Dude.
armored.
Next boss should ride a like mutated pouncer.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got Hydra and Shibboleth in my head.
Oh no.
There was
Really cool.
there's an idea we had where it was like, what if there were like pouncer keepers, who were just like essentially like like the dog, like
Dog handler.
dog handlers. Yes, pouncer handlers. That's the one. Couldn't think of the word. That'd be cool.
Release
like,
the
if you had
hounds.
yeah, like you had a guy who kind of like brought the pouncers in, and they were more coordinated while he was still there, and you could like try and take him out while ignoring the
Yeah.
pouncers to make them easier to handle individually, or you could just like deal with the pouncers. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
It'd be like a dude who controls his sheepdogs, and like you go
Yeah.
into this room and you see this guy. It zooms in on the guy, and then they pan down to the dogs.
He has them on leashes, and he's just like,
God, Shorts,
And
you
then
got
you
Jess
let
all
them go.
excited.
So I was like,
That would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
What if there were little baby pouncers that you found? Like, you know how you see the ticker cages in 3?
yeah, dude.
Like little kennels?
Yeah, you run across like the pouncer training
You
academy.
don't kill them, though. You don't kill the babies.
Gears
All
of
right.
War RPG where you can have your companion and
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I'd play that. I'd play that.
baby pouncer. It's not that powerful, but if you keep throughout the entire game, it becomes a full-grown one, and it's like your best friend.
Yeah, and it can be like a you could like roll across some like outsider camp where they've like declawed and defanged and detailed
That's
the
cruel.
pouncers, and
That's
like
cruel.
you can get them as pets. Like people just roll around with pouncers on leashes that are like, that'd be funny as shit.
All right.
This is the best tangent, by the way.
Yes. Tangents are always fun, and they help us fill time. So, I think, did that wrap up characters and enemies? Have we covered all of them?
What about the introduction to the other members of Delta Squad? Because I think they did Marcus okay.
Yeah, so actually, that kind of transitioned us into let's talk about the story.